Yes, I can.
Emily, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Commissioner Pittman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Mr. Buikema, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Mr. Davidson, can you hear me?
Yes.
Commissioner Garland, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Commissioner Snyder, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Court Reporter Kiki, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great.
Thank you.
Commissioner McCoy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Mr. Palmer, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Commissioner Uditsky, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Mr. Rieger, can you hear me?
Yes.
Commissioner Callaway, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
And Commissioner Burns, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I will then ask Eileen Franz to please call the roll in order to establish a quorum.
Thank you. Commissioner Burns.
Here.
Commissioner Callaway.
Here.
Sorry, I have an old vote sheet. I apologize. Commissioner Garland.
Here.
Commissioner McCoy.
Here.
Commissioner Pittman.
Here.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Here.
Commissioner Uditsky.
Here.
Commissioner Snyder.
Here.
Chair Rose.
Here.
Thank you.
We have a quorum? Okay. We have a quorum. First item of business is public comment. I'm going to ask Mike Kopp, Assistant City Manager Mike Kopp. Is there anyone in the public comment room that I'm not seeing?
No, there is not.
Okay. Eileen, is there anyone through email or your voicemail who has requested to do public comment at this point?
I will go check the voicemail.
Okay.
There's no one through email. Mike is going to check the voicemail.
Okay. We need to wait a minute until he confirms that no one wants to participate in that manner. I'll tell you, I have been contacted by, we should feel good about how we're doing things. I've been contacted by 2 other communities that apparently have watched us on YouTube Live and are particularly impressed with how we've handled public comment, that we really have gone the extra mile to make sure that people have an opportunity to comment. So you all should feel good about that.
No voicemail.
Okay. We will then close public comment. Eileen, are there any written communications that we've received?
No, there are not.
Okay. Next item of business is the approval of the minutes of November 17th, 2020. Can I have a motion to approve and a second?
So moved.
Commissioner Garland moves and a second. Commissioner Snyder seconds. Are there any questions or additions, deletions, or corrections anyone wants to make? Commissioner McCoy.
It's on the second page. It's just like a little typo. The sentence that reads automobile detail shop with conditions as it should read red instead of ready.
Very good.
Just so you know, I'm reading the minutes.
Thank you for catching it. You know, I read them and it's like your mind puts what you think should be there. So thank you for doing that. We really appreciate that. Any other addition, correction, or deletion? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask Eileen to call the roll to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Commissioner Garland.
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Callaway.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner McCoy.
Yes.
Commissioner Pittman.
Yes.
Commissioner Uditsky.
Yes.
Chair Rose.
Yes, the minutes are approved. Next item of business, I want to advise everyone, in case there are people who are watching on YouTube or people who had intended to call in at any point around that, which is case number 20P17 Lincoln School, the conditional use permit for preliminary and final plan unit development with site development allowances and conditional use permit for an elementary school. That has been delayed, pulled off our agenda, and it will be on the agenda on December 15th. Is that correct, Eileen?
That is correct. It'll be continued to the 15th.
So it is continued until the 15th. So that leads us then to case 20P06. I'm going to ask Eileen Franz to please introduce this to us. You are the lead on this one, correct, Eileen?
Correct. Thank you. This is case 20P06. It was the Timothy Christian conditional use permit for a plan unit development and plat of subdivision. They also had some site development allowances associated with the plan unit development. If you'll recall, we heard this case earlier this year. I think it might have been our first meeting virtual after we had to postpone a few meetings. So the applicant did submit, when you do a preliminary plan unit development, you are required within 6 months to submit your final documents. So the applicant did submit their final engineering, landscaping, architectural drawings, site plan, and plat of subdivision. The plat of subdivision actually was approved as part of the original process, but we have not recorded that yet. There was also an annexation that was associated with that request, and that has been processed, and that small piece of property has been annexed to the city of Elmhurst. So we reviewed the information that the applicant submitted and find that it's in substantial conformance with what was approved as part of the preliminary plan. The applicant still will need to obtain building permits and go through a more formal engineering and building review as part of the process. But we did verify the site development allowances that were approved. One was for the corner side setback, that is being met, and then the other had to do with signage. So there was one that was allowing more wall signs on the property than are currently allowed. If you'll recall, we had a code change a few years ago. So when they put up some of their original wall signage, they were allowed to have more wall signs than our code allows right now. So one of the site development allowances addressed that. And then the other two were specific to the actual area of the sign on two of the signs on the new addition along Prospect. So the site development allowances were to allow the logo sign not to exceed 125 square feet and the name sign not to exceed 225 square feet. And the information the applicant submitted indicates that the proposed logo sign is 100 square feet and the name sign is 150 square feet. So the applicant will also be required to apply for an actual sign permit when they are ready to submit the building permit and additional information. Susan, you're muted.
Thank you. I also want to add onto this the report, the staff report that you saw in board docs today for this case, that final engineering, just so everybody knows, they submitted the engineering and it was reviewed, but really the final engineering will still occur and no permits will be issued until the final okay is given to that engineering. So that's been reviewed, but that's one of the things that we always check with that. Final architectural drawings were reviewed by our plan reviewer. Final landscaping and site plan were reviewed by Emily Egan, Eileen Franz, and John Robbins in our development department. And really that final plat of subdivision was reviewed by Pete Pyatt, who is our GIS specialist. So just so you know, these have all been reviewed and have been seen to be in substantial conformance to that. So I would ask for a motion and a second to approve, and then we can discuss if there's questions or any discussion. So can I have a motion to approve and a second to approve?
I will move to approve.
Commissioner Burns, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Pittman, thank you. Okay, I think we can really just openly discuss this, and I'll ask if there's any questions anyone has, or comments, or any concerns you have about giving the final approval to all of these documents. And we really needed to do it tonight because of that 6 month. It needs to be submitted and approved within 6 months. So any questions anyone has or concerns about any piece of this? Commissioner Garland?
Yes, I have no concerns over the final submission. And, I was impressed the first time around and impressed this next go around that, just some of the fine tuning that was done with it, and happy to see that all of it, or that it came back in substantial conformance. And I guess this is a matter of process, and perhaps this is for you, Chair Rose, and maybe you, Eileen. Is there a need or a requirement that you feel that we would need to go through all of the PUD standards as part of the discussion and laying all those out again?
Right. I don't think so, but I will let Eileen give us a definitive answer on that.
No, we do not need to go through those again.
Okay.
In essence, we decided it. We did decide the case. And so it was always contingent on a review of these. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to give you names and positions of people who in the city who have actually reviewed these, just so you have confidence that they have been. So it's a good point, though. Thank you.
So just to clarify, I mean, at this point, it's the planners who have reviewed what was submitted. The other staff has had preliminary review in the past, but they will review these final documents as part of the permit submittal. So I don't want, not everyone has gone through these yet. They will when they submit for permit. But I reviewed to determine it was substantially in conformance with what the Plan Commission approved. Those other parties have had review of this in the past as we were going through the preliminary process, and then they will, as they go through the building permit process, review those again along with me and Emily to make sure everything is in order.
Right. And again, just so you know, no permits are issued until they give the final okay. Commissioner Uditsky.
So forgive me then for asking the obvious, but maybe the petition, well, I don't know if the petitioner, because we're in deliberation, but so what's changed from what we saw before? Eileen, you said substantial compliance. I mean, is there anything you can point out that's different here from what we reviewed previously?
So I'm going to make a couple comments, and then I will let the applicant jump in to add additional information. But there's like additional, there's additional information on the engineering plans that was not included in the original plans. These are more, the addition is the same, the proposal is the same. The plans just have information that was not necessarily part of the preliminary plans. And if the applicant has something they want to contribute to that, I think that's permissible in this situation, even though it's sort of a deliberation. It's a little different because it's the final approval.
Right, we can ask them to respond to that, and I will do that. Mr. Buchema, do you want to respond to that?
Sure. Thanks, Chairperson. So the first thing I would point out would just be in addition to, be the sign matters. Before we had general approval for signs of a certain size. Since preliminary plan approval, we finalized what the signs were going to look like, and the actual signs are now, in fact, smaller than what was permitted on a square footage basis. That's probably will probably be the most visible difference. At this point, I would open up to Brian, if you want to identify maybe an item or two, and then Todd from an architectural perspective, that would be great.
Yeah, from an engineering perspective, it really was just fine tuning the design. We added an accessible sidewalk entrance to the front curb. The sidewalk on the north side of the addition has a little jog in it, but just barely anything, just to get from the process of more of a preliminary standpoint to a full construction drawing design. So that's really the difference on the engineering side.
Anyone else from your team? Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, I'll quickly chime in relative to the architectural. In general, I think the elevations that were submitted back in April when we last met were preliminary. Had a lot of information on there, but if you compare those to the ones that were submitted are just much more developed with more construction in mind, more dimensions, so we can essentially build from it. Like Paul said, I think the biggest change was just the relative to the sign square footage, and then I think preliminary we did note a backlit sign for our original PUD elevation, but we're not going that direction any longer. It's just going to be the standard applied signage on the canopy. And so I think, yeah, architecturally, substantially, we're very close to what was submitted originally, just the development of the details.
And that's fairly usual in this process, that as you've got to have plans that are, I think you said it well, make it construction ready. And that's part of what we're seeing here as you moved along in your plans. I think it'll be, in fact, there was discussion about that handicap, that kind of slice in there. So that was one of the things that was good to see that had been added. So, any other questions from commissioners? Thoughts?
Can I ask a question perhaps of the applicant?
Sure.
I'm curious. I believe this is the first one to cycle back through to a PUD that cycled back through zoning. Is that right or no?
For final approval, is it, Eileen?
Locked up.
We had McMaster come back for final approval, and then we had another one that did a combined preliminary and final.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who that was, but I didn't think this was the first. So you are locked up, Dave. Can you say anything in the chat? Well, Commissioner Garland has been silenced. Okay. Dave, if there is anything, you look to be
right.
back.
I guess I was curious about the process, how you felt it went.
Are you asking me or Eileen Franz? He's lost. Oh, there he is again. Commissioner Garland, are you asking that of me?
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Me or Eileen Franz?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was just perhaps of the applicant, just more out of curiosity, as it moved through the various committees and that now back here, how they felt that went, and if there's some recommendations or fine tuning that you suggest.
Great point. All right. So, anyone on the applicant team, Mr. Buikema, you want to, or Mr. Davidson, either one of you?
Sure, I'll be happy to jump in. And Matt, if you'd like to add anything, please feel free. But I would say from our perspective, the process was pretty simple and straightforward in the age of COVID, and having to do this via some Zoom meetings that all worked out, going back to that first meeting last April or early May. But working with Eileen and her team, everything was pretty straightforward. So I think I've often said that Elmhurst is a great place to do business. Some towns are can be a little more challenging. Elmhurst is very constructive on what it takes to accomplish a process, and that's very helpful.
Great. Any comments, Mr. Davidson?
I would echo that. Staff has always been great to work with at Elmhurst. So the commission knows we ask a lot of questions before we get here of staff, and they've been always extremely helpful. And given the circumstances, this has been a really good process from our point of view. We have a few more steps, obviously. We're proud of the fact that we're moving forward with this project right now, and I hope you feel a sense of reward that you're a part of this as well in these unusual times. But no, this has been a good process from our point of view. Thank you for asking.
Good. Yeah. I mean, part of this night, thanks to Commissioner Garland for bringing this up. We really changed dramatically our process of how we do plan unit developments, and so it's interesting to hear from people as you go through it. Part of our purpose was to simplify it and to make sure that there was a strong connection to surrounding neighborhoods, that they understood exactly what was going on. It was for large projects. So I'm glad to hear that you recognize the wonderful staff we have and the hours they put into this that we don't always see. So thanks to them. All right. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Snyder.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to say that I was impressed when I initially saw the plan, the first time around. And this time around, I have to say I'm just being very into the design process myself. I'm really impressed that there weren't any further changes or developments, that this really was just a refinement and there were no significant changes. And I just think that speaks to the quality of the planning that you guys did up front. So I think you guys did a great job, and I'm very pleased to see that everything is in substantial compliance as well. So I just wanted to give a kudos to you guys and say job well done.
Okay. Other questions, other comments from commissioners? Okay, seeing none, I think we will move towards, I'll ask Eileen to call the roll. Before we do, this is actually deliberation, so we don't need to take public comment on this, do we, Eileen?
No, I can check the email here quickly and make sure, but
I don't think that's necessary because we are not really required to do that. This is deliberation, so we're not really, and the time for public comment was earlier, so I think let us move ahead to call the roll, and let's vote on really these materials.
Yeah, just to clarify, it's not a public hearing. We just refer to it as a public meeting when we have people come back for their final plan development. I will call the roll. So Commissioner Burns made the motion and Commissioner Pittman seconded, I believe.
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Pittman.
Yes.
Commissioner Callaway.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Garland. Did we lose Commissioner Garland?
Did lose him.
Okay. Commissioner McCoy.
Yes.
Commissioner Uditsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder.
Yes.
Chair Rose.
Yes. So the final plans are approved by the commission. And again, this will be pending final approval through engineering. So good luck. You got a big project ahead of you. So I'm sure it will go well. So we wish you all the best on that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. We now point in our meeting other business. Eileen, is there any other business?
No, I don't have any other business. I've been meaning to get all of you the zoning case schedule, but we've had some, every time I'm ready to finalize it, something changes. So I'm hoping to get that to you by the end of the week. We are going to be meeting December 15th, and we should have a longer agenda that evening.
Right.
We are anticipating a front setback variation for a front porch down on, I believe it's Cayuga. Roberto's, the owners of Roberto's restaurant are requesting conditional use permits for 2 parking lots on Eggleston. And we have Lincoln School. I am not certain Lincoln School will be ready on the 15th. It may be ready on the 15th. And then we have the City View Church request as well that was supposed to be this evening, but there was an error with the publication.
Right.
So I'm not sure we'll get through everything that evening, but we do have a full agenda, and we have some cases that we are anticipating for January. So our next few meetings will most likely be pretty busy, and we will be operating in this same format for the time being.
Right. We will not be moving to an in-person format. I'll be back at City Hall instead of my home office. So, okay. Seeing no other business, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn what looks to be one of our shorter zoning and planning commission meetings on record. So can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And Commissioner Callaway seconds that. So we will have to call the roll to adjourn.
Thank you. Commissioner Uditsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Callaway.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Garland lost his connection. Commissioner McCoy.
Yes.
Commissioner Pittman.
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder.
Yes.
Chair Rose.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you.